Hello, hello, hello. How are you today? We are in another Friday live session. We come on air every Friday just to share business nuggets, business insight, tips and strategies that can help you win, that can help you deliver extraordinary results in your business, in year 2025. So this is another edition. If you're here live with me, let me see you in the chats. Drop your name, where you're joining from. It gives me a great pleasure to welcome you to this another episode, right, of the Friday live session. The sessions that we've had in the past have been back to back. I've got a lot of feedback, a lot of testimonials from people that have used some of the strategies, some of the recommendations that we shared, the tips, the nuggets, people have started using it in their businesses and they're seeing changes. So I hope that it's the same with you too. And please feel free to share, your wins, as it were, with us. Also, share your questions as much as possible. If there's an area that you would want us to discuss, if there's a particular burning issue that you would want us to address, in this any of these Friday live sessions, I'm definitely happy to do that. So I come on here every Friday to really just share with you, and that's exactly what we're going to be again this morning. Oyema, I can see you. You're welcome. Where are you joining from? Who else is here? Who else is here? Just let me know where you are joining from, and you are most welcome. So feel free, make yourself comfortable, and let's get right into the discussion of the day. Today, we're talking about how to move your business from a cash eating business or a cash gushing business to a wealth building business. They are two different things. Many business owners are working tirelessly to make sales, to generate revenue in their businesses. And they do all of that day in, day out, putting in the work on a daily basis. And at the end of the day, they still feel like they're barely keeping their heads above water. Despite making millions in sales, it just looks like there is little to show for it in terms of their ability to create wealth. And so that's what we're talking about today, because we want to move you significantly from having to continue to pour yourself into the business, and it feels like the business is, rather than creating value, is destroying value, or you really just can't see how the value is accumulating in a way that is tangible, and you can begin to think seriously about how to create wealth with your business. I often say to business owners that your business is just one asset class. And for a lot of people, their journey of wealth creation starts when they start a business, continue to run the business is making money, and then they can get to a point where the business is relatively stable, generating consistent cash flows, and then they can begin to pay themselves as investors and take, dividend out of the business that they can then diversify into other asset classes, right? To build a robust wealth portfolio. That's the pathway for an entrepreneur, right? And so if your business is not giving you that at the moment, then this is for you. You're the reason I'm here live this morning, and you're the reason we're having this conversation. So, businesses that are cash eating machines as opposed to wealth building asset. How can you change that? How can you turn that around? Today, I'm going to be exposing you to the hidden money traps in your business, and I'm going to teach you the building blueprint and equip you with the practical strategies that successful business owners have used to create financial freedom for themselves. Okay, so stay with me. I'll share the story of two entrepreneurs. Number one person is the person I call Tunde. Is hypothetical. It's not a real name, right? So, but I'm just using Tunde as, to describe this person. Tunde runs a thriving business. The business is generating high revenues. They're making sales. But at the end of the year, he barely has enough saved from the business that can make you feel like, okay, we did business and these are the returns that we had. Just similar to how you would say you've invested in a government bond or a government treasury bill for 365 days, and at the end of the year, you can see the return that has come out of that investment, right? Okay, so when you do invest in your business as well, at the end of the year, you should be able to see what you have gained as a way of return. That's profit that is retained within the business. And this profit is then available to you as an investor to pay part of it to yourself as dividend, and then of course to reinvest a portion of that profit right back into the business to continue to grow it. So if your business gets to a point where you're not able to really put your hand to what it is that you're doing, or have enough, what you will consider enough that is worth, that makes running the business worth your while. Because I usually say to people, like, business ventures are risky ventures, right? So if government treasury bills today give you as much as 25% return, if your business is not giving you above that return, you might as well just shut down the business and go and put your money in treasury bills and go to sleep and just wait for your money to come back. Do you see? Right? So that's why if we're in business, let's not say we're running business and we're just running up and down and getting involved in activities. But you need to ask yourself questions around, what are the returns of my investment in this business? And that's why keeping your numbers is a no-brainer. Today is not the day for that conversation. I want to believe that the people that are watching me and those that are going to watch the replay of this session are people who already have their numbers sorted, and so you can get a sense of where you are as a business and as what the return you're getting from the business. So now Tunde is in this situation where his business is making money, is making sales, but at the end of the year he still barely has enough saved, right? And most of his profits are reinvested back into the operations of the business, right? And of course, reviewing what he's done over the years, you will see that there's just some unnecessary expansion that he has invested money in that has not yielded the kind of return that he expected. You would also see some expensive personal expenses, right, that the business had taken up, and even just looking at his personal finance and all that. His business looks successful on the surface, but it's indeed a cash eating machine because the business is making money, but it's also eating the money pretty much. So at the end of the day, it looks like a zero sum game. Now think about another entrepreneur. I'll call her Amaka. Amaka, on the other hand, has a different approach to her business. She follows a structured wealth building strategy for her business. She's able to allocate funds to investments. She's able to ensure that our profits flow into assets, right? And she's also able to pay herself first, which is what some entrepreneurs don't do. And then over time, her business does not only just fund her lifestyle by way of the salaries that she pays herself, right? It also allow her to be able to build wealth because she's able to take some portion of her profit, which she pays herself as dividend, and then she's using that to invest in other types of assets. Now, that's not to say your business as an entity cannot invest in assets. Maybe in another conversation I will have that, but I'm having a holistic conversation around your business enabling you to build wealth, right? So, which one would you rather be? Are you a Tunde or an Amaka? If you can just put that in the chat, you know, I'm sure you can review what your situation is at the moment. And you can already tell whether you're a Tunde or you're an Amaka. So put that in the chat for me. Let me know, are you a Tunde or an Amaka? Today's session is going to be very short and sweet, so I need you to follow me very closely. Get your notes and, get cracking. Let's get cracking. Oh, okay. Vivian says, I would rather be an Amaka, but I'm currently a Tunde. Okay, so how many of us are Tundes? Just give me a raise of the hand in the comment. If you're a Tunde, just say hi. All right, so let's get this going and talk about the biggest. Oh my God, another person, Clinton, is currently a Tunde. Okay, so let's talk about the biggest cash traps that are draining your business, because I know a lot of people are probably Tundes, right? We probably have a lot of Tundes. So let's not even flog it. Let's get to where the issues are and begin to tackle it one by one, right? Okay, so, oh, Sandra, this is your first time. You're welcome. I hope you love it here. Please keep coming and you get practical tips that will definitely help your business. Okay. All right. So let's talk about the biggest traps that are cash traps that are draining your business. You see, many businesses look successful on the outside, but they struggle with cash flow issues almost on a daily basis. And there are many reasons why this happens. Number one is lack of financial management or proper financial management. When you don't have visibility on your business finances, you don't know where there are holes in your business, and that's where the leaks are. That's where the cash is leaking from. You're not paying attention to those things. A lot of us focus a lot of attention on we need to make sales, we need to do the volumes and all of that. So after you've done the volumes and the money has been made, what then happens? Because you need to follow the money. You need to understand your cash flow circle within the business, because that's what will help you to know where the leaks are. So imagine the story of a bakery owner, for instance. I'll call this person Olu. Yeah, this person's business is booming. Every day, customers flood his shop. They're always, buying his products, and then at the end of the month, he's still struggling to pay rent. Where is all the money going? I'm sure you'll be asking as well. And some of you are already asking that question in your own business as well. The issue is that Olu does not have any financial tracking system within his business. He is always spending on the impulse. Oh, we need to buy this. Yes, we put money out and we buy it. We need to buy that. So there's nothing that is really fully planned. Yeah. So he's always acting on impulse. He's spending impulsively, right? And then he is reinvesting blindly without a strategy. So for instance, he would just go and buy, a lot of inventory. Yeah. And so for sometimes the money is even stuck in the inventory because it's not everything that they produce at the same time, right? Where there are cases where you will stock up on inventory, especially maybe you hear news about an impending rise in price and stuff like that. You want to take advantage of, a quick buy that can help you make some savings from the impending price hike. There are times that you have to just really be clear on um what your a reasonable reorder level should be, so that you are not unnecessarily tying money down. And in some cases, especially if you are now in a business where you sell perishables, some of that could even be wasted. Do you see what I mean? Some of them can even become obsolete. That's also in understanding your product and understanding the ones that are fast moving, the ones that are not moving as much. So if you go and tie down money in a product that is not fast moving, your ability to turn around that money quickly is limited. Do you see? So proper financial management touches on every part of your business, and it helps you to ask the right questions. Okay. So the pain point for Olu at this point in time is without clear financial oversight, money will slip through the cracks, and that will lead to constant cash flow struggles in the business. And the solution, because the way I'm going to be talking about some of these issues, which I believe some of you may relate with, I'll talk about the issues and then I'll talk about what the possible solution should be. All right. So please take notes, take copious notes. So for this kind of person who lacks proper financial management, number one thing you have to do is to implement profit first accounting. Profit first accounting. A lot of people are selling, but they are not even clear on what their profit margins are and whether those profit margins are decent enough to cover the cost structure of the business, to cover your overheads, what is going to account for the profits that you must necessarily be able to reinvest back into the business. So if you're barely covering your costs, if your pricing is such that you're barely covering your costs at the end of the day, by the time you spend, cover all of your overhead expenses and everything that you need to do, you will have little or nothing left. And that is the situation for a lot of people. And it's because they don't really practice that profit first accounting. Some people record their sales. They record their sales on a daily basis. What people are not doing is checking for the profitability of the sales that they have made. That's what people don't do, right? So you need to allocate profit before the expenses. Use simple financial tools. Use simple software like QuickBooks, which is good for small businesses. And there are many of them, right? Just go and research. But this is not a time where you're not on top of your accounting, right? That is where the problem even starts when it comes to proper financial management. So you need to be able to track your income and track your expenses as much as possible. Then pay yourself a salary instead of just randomly withdrawing cash from your business. And then you can't track, you can't even hold yourself accountable to how you even spent the money. You just know that you drew cash and you can't even remember what you used it for. So pay yourself a salary so you stay within the salary that you have. Sometimes when you're looking at the bank account and the money looks huge, and in your head you've not been able to tell yourself that this is not my money, this is the business money. You just feel like you have money, and so something comes and you feel like, let me quickly draw from there. No, that's a very, very bad habit. And those are the kind of habits that make entrepreneurs to sink their business. Okay, so lack of proper financial management is number one reason. Number two is high overheads and unnecessary expenses. Let's talk about another business owner. I'll call this person Chioma. Chioma runs an online fashion brand. She's rented this very big store and it has a big office for madam, right? She's hired this very big team, large team. She's bought this beautiful, fancy furniture. The place is, fanciful and all that, only for her to realize that our revenue could not sustain these costs. In fact, there's a very interesting story. I'll tell that story later. This person was going to start, let me just quickly tell it. This person was going to start, a fashion business as well. This one, she was selling fabrics and all that. And the first thing she did, she had limited amount of money. So I think her husband gave her 10 million or something like that to start the business. I'll go back to the Choma story. Don't worry, I didn't forget. So her husband gave her 10 million, right, to start this business. And then the first thing she did was she rented a shop. And the shop she had to pay for 2 years. So she paid 3 million rent out of 10 million, remaining 7 million. Out of the 7 million, she now needs to fit out the place, right? Set it up, fit it out, electricity, this and that. Another maybe 1 million thereabout went for that. The money is remaining how much now? 6 million. Okay. Now she now needs to hire people and of course with herself. And she has 6 million left. So by the time she will do all of those other expenses of things that she needs to do, she had literally about 3 or 4 million left to actually do the actual business. So I'm like, please, where is the wisdom in this? You only have 10 million capital and you've spent 6 million on things that cannot immediately translate to cash. Things that are pretty much either expenses or at best they are fixed assets and they can't translate to revenue immediately in your hand, right? How about you think of a model that allows you not to put or layer too much overhead costs, at least not at the beginning? So perhaps you could be selling from your house, right? And use social media to reach your customers, or you use your car if you have one and use it to move things around. You would only spend on transportation, right? To showcase your product, but going to spend close to 6 million just on nonsense was actually not a wise decision. And I believe you will agree with me. So back to Chioma, right? She also did something similar, right? Big team. She had a lot of sales girls. She had this fancy office, TV everywhere. And when I checked, I'm like, what? Who is watching the TV? Is it the customers that come in, and spend barely 30 minutes in your space? Are they the ones watching the TV, or is it your team that is watching the TV? They just buy all manner. So they're paying for cable, they're paid subscription, for the cable TV or whatever that they've subscribed. I mean, just different expenses that they've subscribed to that is absolutely that's not what will determine whether you make sales or you don't make sales. Do you understand? So you need to definitely ask yourself, what are the unchecked expenses, like excessive office space, maybe space that you don't even need. Maybe you could have made do with a smaller space, but you have this big space that you're not even using. You're doing these subscriptions that you don't really need. Things that are really just not essential. They are not critical. They are not the things that move the needle when it comes to making sales. But you put money in all of these things. Those are the leaks in your business that are draining cash out of your business. You don't need big retail store when you can literally leverage e-commerce and reach even a bigger market, as opposed to tying money down in rent that if you don't open shop in one day, you don't make money, right? But if you use your e-commerce properly, whether you're there or not, people can get into your DM, make inquiries. You can even set up ads that show your products to people, and you don't have to be online. And those things are working. Do you see what I mean, right? So you have to check these high overheads that you have. And again, it goes back to the point one that I had on your financial management. If you don't do your numbers, there is no way you will know where the huge overheads are coming from and to be able to do something about it. Last year, a lot of businesses had issues with energy costs because fuel prices, was on the rise, right? And a lot of people were spending a lot of money on just buying fuel to fuel the generators and stuff like that. As a shrewd business owner, you need to then be able to ask yourself, why are we spending so much on energy? Is it about time for us to invest in solar? Right? And then use energy saving bulbs or whatever it is that can help us manage our, energy costs as much as possible. It might be a huge investment at first, but it will pay off at the end of the day, right? So those are definitely things that you need to check in your business. Overspending or just spending on non-essential expenses can actually lead to profit erosion in your business. And when your profit is significantly eroded, wealth building is no longer a conversation. Do you see? If this is making sense, just put it in the chat box for me. So, what's the solution in this case? You need to audit your business expenses, cut unnecessary costs, even renegotiate some of the expenses, some of your vendor payments, renegotiate your office rent if possible, streamline your staff roles. You may have too many people, you may have your work duplicated, like two, three different people doing about the same thing. Find a way to look into your staff. Do you need 10 staff? Perhaps if you're more efficient, maybe you really don't need more than five. So you need to look at your operations as well and ask yourself, where are we being inefficient? That we have too many manual interventions in the work that we're doing. Do you see? And how can we cut down on this inefficiency? Because when you cut down on inefficiency, it will save you. It will save you significantly, right? So you need to look at that. You need to also consider outsourcing where possible instead of full-time hiring. What can you outsource that will save you money, right? Focus on lean operations as much as possible. I remember when I started my consulting business, even before I knew working off online or whatever was a thing, because I was in a 9 to 5 and I also started my consulting on the side, the only model that worked for me was to work online and to work with virtual teams, right? So I really didn't have people that were I didn't have a lot of people that were fully on my payroll. So I had to build a team that I brought in on as a need arise basis. I had to set up like a project, a consultant consortium because of the nature of work that I do. And so I bring these people on projects on as a need arise basis. So there was nobody else except for my EA, my executive assistant, right, who was permanently, on my payroll, but every other person outsourced. Videographer, content creator, graphic designer, this one, that one, outsourced. And then the core team that I used to do the client work were people that I brought in on a, as a need arise basis, and we got the job done. Do you see? So I cracked a model that worked for me, and this was pre-COVID. All my client engagements were largely virtual. If it has to be physical, because I was in a 9 to 5, it had to be on a weekend or maybe when I'm on leave. Do you see what I mean? So I had to crack a model that worked for me, and that helped me to keep my overhead very, very lean. Like very, very lean. Your business may not be the same as mine, but you have to find your own version of lean operations, right? And make sure that you're not just layering too much overhead on your business. It doesn't make sense for you to have too much overhead, really, especially if those expenses that you can't really find an easy way to trace it back to how those expenses help you generate revenue. Every expense, interrogate it and ask yourself, if I take out this expense, what will happen? Will it reduce my revenue or our ability to make more money in the business? If you can't tie it back to how that expense helps you to make money, then you probably don't need it. Okay, so eliminate it. because it's impacting your growth. Number three thing, which I already kind of mentioned, is poor pricing and low margins. Poor pricing. Another example, Hamid owns a logistics company. He charges the lowest rate in the city to attract customers. That's his own mindset. You're playing the pricing game. His trucks are always on the road, but at the end of the year, he barely breaks even. The issue is that when your USP, your unique selling proposition, is pricing, you are playing a weak game. You are playing a weak game. If the way you differentiate yourself in your industry is by saying we are the lowest or we are the cheapest, it's not a sustainable game because prices are consistently on the rise. Inflation is not waiting for you. Do you see what I mean? So it's not sustainable and you cannot build wealth in that way. So you have to find a way to price properly in a way that allows you to build a healthy business. When you're undervaluing your product or your services because of competition pressure, you are the one that is losing at the end of the day. So you have to find something that makes your business sufficiently differentiated, maybe in terms of quality, maybe in terms of excellent customer service, maybe in terms of always making sure that whatever your products are, your customers always find it, meaning you don't go on stock out and people come and they don't have, access to those things. Whatever that will look like for your own business, you have to really go back and ask yourself, what should make us really unique, and we will still be able to charge reasonably priced, put reasonable prices on our products and our services, because competing based on cheap prices is not sustainable and it's not one of the things that I know that help people to build wealth. So you need to understand the true cost of setting prices. There was a video I shared on my Instagram, for those of you that follow me on Instagram, where a certain entrepreneur had gone to the Dragon's Den. There's some show like that where, some entrepreneurs, they come and pitch their business with the hope that, the people would consider, the investors, potential investors, would consider investing in their business. And he was in the business of making apparel, and there was a woman on that panel who also was in fashion business and has done that business for a very, very long time. So she understood her numbers. And by the time he asked the guy, how much are you selling a piece of this apparel? He said 10,000 naira. How much do you make this apparel? What's the cost of making? I think he said 6,000, something like that. And the woman said something is wrong, maybe 6,000, 7,000. I can't remember. And the woman said, no, something is wrong. Something is wrong with your numbers. In the fashion industry, minimum margin is 30%. And that's from, our own understanding of that space. Do you have a good understanding of your own industry? What's the minimum or what's the average profit margin on your products? Because sometimes our products are not particularly unique like that, right? Most of the products that we all deal in some ways, you have other people that are also dealing in those products. So what's the average profit margin in the industry, and how are you benchmarking yourself in terms of how you're positioning your own products and pricing for them? So if you undervalue your products, if you're not clear on the true costs of your product before setting your prices, if you're charging based on, you want to be competitive based on prices, then you're undermining yourself and you're cutting yourself. You're not going to be able to create wealth, right? So what you need to do is to charge based on value, not on competition. Position your products and your services for premium pricing, right? Give your customers what they cannot find elsewhere, and they will keep coming back to you. You'll be shocked that they'll be willing to pay so much more. Okay, so use value-based pricing. Review your pricing strategy from time to time and ask yourself whether it's working or not and make changes. Number four thing that I'm going to share with you very quickly is lack of multiple sources of income. When we say these things, we look at it from a personal finance point of view. But it's not only just personal finance. I'm talking about businesses here. As a business, you need to have multiple income streams. Think about this guy who runs a restaurant business. Let's call him Uche, right? He relies only on walk-in customers. He's running a restaurant, and the only thing he knows is that we're just going to open and then we pray that the people will walk in. That's the strategy. When COVID hit, sales plummeted. He never thought of what are the other avenues that we can use to target the people that buy our food. He never thought of, oh, there are people in the offices who may not be able to walk into our offices, but they need food. Should we have a service where we put them on subscription? So we deliver food for you every day of the week, 5 days a week, 20 days a month. So sign up with us and then send in your order. And we take your order before 12 noon and we'll be able to deliver to you by 2 p.m., something like that, you know. And honestly, that was where his business really, really shut down, because all he was looking at is working customers. And then people, I mean, when COVID hit, everybody was at home, nobody was opening their shops and all that. A lot of people lost money because we really just focus on one stream, one stream, one stream. So think about your own business. What are the different touch points? What are the different channels that you can use to get access to your customers? That's number one. Number two, is your product portfolio diversified enough so that even if one particular product is not selling, others are selling, right? And then number three, what are the other complementary products that you can bring on board? So you run a restaurant business. Have you ever thought about creating spices, the same spices that every other person uses, right? And put your name on it, and then you have a spice packaging business on the side that is also serving other restaurants just like you. Have you ever thought about supplying the kind of inputs that you use for your business, supplying it to other restaurants? So you have a business that does that, and that business supplies you and supplies other people. That's also another business that is very closely related, tied to what you're currently doing, but it's another source of income. Do you see what I'm trying to say? So businesses you need to think out of the box this year, this 2025. If you're going to create wealth, you just have to think out of the box. What are the complementary revenue streams? Even as a restaurant owner, do you know you can create digital products? You can create cookbooks. You can create online courses to teach people how to cook local dishes, for instance, local delicacies, things that you probably won't see on social media because, I mean, not everybody is from Akoyebom and understand all your local dishes and stuff like that. You can create your own niche and create Calabar dishes or Akwa dishes or whatever dishes, and teach people. And that's another source of income, right? So think about it. Think about how you can license your expertise, how you can train other people who want to start food business. Do you understand? That's a coaching business right there. Is it coaching or consulting, whatever you might want to call it? So you have another outfit. Meanwhile, you have your restaurant, you have your digital courses, you have your ebooks or whatever, you have a spice making business, and then you are also consulting for people who wants to start similar business. The sky is big enough for all of us, right? A lot of us, we think that, oh, I don't want them to come into my industry to know what's going on there because I don't want competition. Oh, the market is big enough, right? You have to just sufficiently differentiate yourself so that your product is still what your customers will prefer at the end of the day. Do you see what I mean? Okay, so making sure that your business has multiple sources of income is very, very important. Number five thing I'm going to share with you very quickly is lifestyle inflation. Businesses start making money, and then before you know it, the owner starts spending recklessly. They start going on expensive trips. They start doing luxury things, buying luxury cars. They're doing unnecessary upgrades. You start flying first class before stabilizing your business. The business is not stable. You're already flying first class. You know, Pay yourself a fixed salary and separate it from the business and live within your own salary as opposed to putting your money or putting your hand in the business money. Don't allow lifestyle inflation to destroy your business. Even your business, in terms of the kind of things you begin to aspire to, don't grow too quickly. That's the next thing I'm talking about. Scaling too fast and too soon. I once had a coaching client who reached out to me. He was in the business of supplying bottled drinks, beer and all of those things, right? And of course, the guy was doing very well, doing very well. So at some point, he was using rented warehouse. At some point, he decided, okay, we need to build our warehouse. So he secured a loan from the bank. He also used part of the money that he had saved. So that one was going. It wasn't yet done. He also took some loan to buy some more trucks, right? So he had maybe like 4 trucks before. He now increased it to 8, and the additional 4 he also used loan to finance it. So the warehouse was not yet complete. The 4 trucks were also on loan. At some point, right, the stock that he was supplying to the people he was supplying to, because they supply on credit and collect after some days. After a while, those people began to owe them, so they weren't paying them as quickly as possible. So what then happened was that they were now not able to replenish their inventory as quickly as they should so that they can turn it over. Do you see? That was where problems started. Remember that he had loans he was servicing. He had to be paying interest for warehouse that is even not yet ready. He had trucks that, interestingly, he didn't even have drivers immediately to drive those trucks. So for some months, some of those trucks were not even being fully utilized, right? And then some of his money was also stuck in the hands of those that were owing, and they weren't getting as much inventory to really utilize all of their trucks to even use. The warehouse was not even ready to be used. So things just went, Yawa just gas like that. So it was at that point that he reached out to me and we had a conversation. One of the things I said to him, I think this was in 2019 or 2020, I can't remember what year it was. One of the things I told him was that you have to scale back. You are bit more than you can chew at this point in time. You have to. You are over leveraged as a business, right? So you have to scale back. So what he had to do was he had to sell 2 of those trucks to start with, right? And then the warehouse, he had to find somebody else that they now jointly, took ownership of the new warehouse that he was building. So that person now brought fresh money that they used to finish the warehouse, and then the person took half of it. He also took half of it, right? And then he intensified efforts in getting, the people that were owing him, getting money and all of that. But again, the long and short is that while in the process of doing all of these things, he lost money, and he had to scale back. He lost money. I mean, the trucks that he sold, he didn't sell them at the same price that he bought them, so he lost money in that process, right? And so that's why it's not the wisest thing to do. Scale gradually. When you are expanding without solid cash reserve or without proper planning, it can come back to backfire. Okay, just as is in the case of the person that I just shared. So you need to scale sustainably. Make sure you focus on profitability before expansion. Before expansion, because expansion can put you in trouble at times. Then, number 7 that I'm going to share here is lack of cash generating assets. When business owners reinvest everything back into the business without diversifying into wealth building assets, that's one of the reasons why your business is not a wealth building business, because the business is just gushing all the money, taking all the money, right? You have to think about how you're going to diversify. Vivian says, I can relate. I opened 2 pharmacies at the same time and how to shut one down last year. Yeah, that happens, you know. I'm happy that you could relate with that. So you have to think seriously about diversifying into income generating assets so that even if anything happens, if there is a downturn in the economy, if something happens to your business, you have these other wealth generating assets that you can leverage that can continue to give you passive income. Okay. Now, what's the wealth building blueprint that I'm going to share with you? Some of it I already talked about, but I'm going to run through it very quickly in the time that we have. Number 1, you have to separate your business money from your personal money. I think we've talked about that. We flagged that already. So open a separate business account. If you are still doing it, commingling your funds with business, stop it. Just stop it from today. Stop it. Go and open a separate bank account for your business and let business transactions be business transactions and personal transactions become personal transactions. Then pay yourself first. Pay yourself a salary. Set a structured salary, even if it is small, right? It will help you to be humble as a business owner. Okay. So make sure you do that. Then build an emergency fund for your business survival as well, because shocks do happen. Why a lot of businesses just raise their hands and everything is all up in the air is because when shocks happen, the business has not built enough shock absorber. So you have to build contingency funds for your business because emergencies can happen, situations can happen. We've seen situations where people woke up and their shops burnt down. How do you start? How do you start? or hoodlums. Maybe something happened, hoodlums attack your area and they vandalize your store and maybe get away with some of your products. How do you get back from that? How do you bounce back? So build resilience into your business, okay? And then set up an investment account for business generated wealth. Hey, this is one thing that entrepreneurs don't understand. They don't understand that their businesses can also invest. Yeah? Mhm. Those of you that are going to join my Unlock the Wealth Code Challenge that I'm holding this February, starting February 23rd, it's for 21 days. I'm going to be sharing some powerful things there that will blow your mind. If you're looking to really build wealth this year, just go and join that challenge. Okay? Just go and join that challenge. I'm sure the link to the challenge is in the description of this video. So maybe after the live session, just go there and sign up for it. You need to be able to have a separate investment account for business generated wealth. It's important. Your business profit, not 100% of it should go back into the business, especially if your business has gotten to a point where it's now able to generate consistent cash flows, right? It's relatively stable. At that point, you should begin to think of diversifying into assets that can generate passive income, into things that you don't necessarily have to be working in it, exchanging time for it, but it can generate alternative sources of income for you. Okay? So I'm going to be teaching more on that during the challenge. So I said, pay yourself first. How do you allocate your profit, for instance? You can invest 50%, right? Back into the business, put 30% in wealth building assets, and then put 20% in emergency reserves. So when I say this, I'm talking about your retained profit. Profit is after you've taken care of all your expenses now, Abi. That retained profit, 50% can be reinvested back into the business to continue to grow and expand. 30% can go into wealth building assets, and then 20% you put it in an emergency reserve. Now, that emergency reserve is not just one account in a bank that is looking at you. Put it in the money market because that is near cash. You can easily get your money back within 24 hours or less. So it's earning interest for you as well. Do you see what I mean? Again, for those of you that will be in the challenge, we'll break that down a bit more. Then number two, focus on cash flow, not just revenue. A lot of people just feel like, okay, yeah, we're making sales, but if you're making sales and your expenses are also skyrocketing, it's a zero-sum game at the end of the day, right? So track your cash inflows, track your outflows on a weekly basis. On a weekly basis, okay? Then negotiate better payment terms with your customers, with your suppliers, your vendors, everything that is a cost input into the business. Negotiate. Sandra says it has happened to me. Full shop burnt down at the middle of the night. Oh wow, so sorry about that, Sandra. So sorry. But again, I mean, these things happen. Life happens, and you have to be able to bounce back. You see? Yeah, so sorry about that. So, number three, build business credit and find ways to access capital smartly as well. Don't wait until you need a loan before you start building your credit history. Build it early. Have good relationship with your bankers. Do business in a consistent way that allows them to be able to see your history of transactions that you've done so that when you then need to apply for a loan, there's a basis to do that. Some of you do too many things across too many platforms that your history is scattered. It's everywhere. You can't pull it together. Do you see? Begin to build that credit history so that build the history of your turnover, because that's what banks look at when they want to advance loans. They want to see how much turnover your business does, and they use that to assess how much money they can advance to you. Okay, think about using overheads. You don't have to necessarily use term loans. Okay, depending on the kind of business that you run and how you need money in the business, set up an overdraft that you can draw when you need it and you pay it back quickly as well as the money comes back. Do you see? Leverage grants. Look out for grants, and there are many of them. Think about angel investors, people that can bring patient capital into your business. Use debts strategically. Remember the story of that my coaching client that I told you about that's scaled using a lot of debt. Debt can be very good. I'm going to teach on this as well during the challenge, how to use debt, strategically to grow your business, right? Use debt for scaling, not for survival. If your business is still at survival stage, I will advise you, don't don't layer additional costs from debt on it. Okay, get the business to be able to stand on its legs. Look for money through your family and friends. Look for patient capital that will not put additional stress of interest payment on you. All right, or even if you have to pay interest, at least go for friendly loans, right? If you can get single digit loans, maybe from family or friends, it's much better than double digit loans. Number four, invest business profit wisely. Don't go and put it in something you don't understand. All right. And then you need to also understand the type of investments that you can do. Some of them, you need to vary it: short term, medium term, long term. Again, I'll teach more on this during the challenge, because there are times you may need to draw on some of the money from that investment to repurpose, maybe because there's an opportunity in your business that you want to take advantage of and you need additional money. So, not all the money should go into long term investments or illiquid assets. Real estate is good, but if that is all that you put your money in, the day you now need the money to sell the real estate quickly now become a problem. So you must have a diversified portfolio that allows you to be able to leverage your investment portfolio properly and use your money as you need it. Buy appreciating assets. Okay. I'll talk about the different types of asset classes during the challenge. Time will not permit us to get into that. Reinvest for growth in your business, but don't sink all your profit back into the business. I think I already mentioned that. So diversify wisely. Then focus on recurring business revenue streams. Recurring business or recurring revenue streams. I think I also did mention that. For those of you that have been following me from the first Friday live that we had, I stressed on transitioning your business from one-time transaction type business to a subscription-based model. If you didn't watch that, go to the very first Friday live that talked about turning your business into a cash cow, that kind of thing. Go and watch that, right? I talked about it extensively. Now, the last part of this session that I'm going to do with you today is just talking to you about strategies for financial freedom. I'll try and do this in 5 minutes or less. Number one is you must build a scalable business model. If your business is not scalable, you will struggle to build wealth with that business, right? Shift from active income. Active income is the kind of income that you earn by trading time for money. If you don't show up at your business today, you will not make money. That's trading time for money. All right, that's trading time for money. Shift to scalable models as much as possible. Think franchises. How can you franchise your business? I have a mentee that is a guru on this franchising thing. So if you need it, I can connect you. Just send an email, right? Automate your processes as much as possible to reduce dependence on direct involvement. Reduce dependence on you as the owner of the business, right? Have the right structures and systems in place. Don't build the business around you alone. If madam has not come, we cannot do anything. If Oga has not come, the business cannot move forward. That should not be you in 2025. Okay? Then number two, create predictable recurring revenue. I mentioned subscription-based services. I mentioned retainer packages. I mentioned it in one of the examples I gave about the restaurant, right? Think about membership models, even for your business, leveraging communities, build communities around your business. That's the way to go. Technology, communities, content creation. If you know, you know. That's the way to go. Number three, make strategic investment decisions, some of which I already told you. Don't just save, invest. And before you invest, go and learn. Don't go and put your money and say, because somebody told me, because somebody said, or because I saw my friend invest in it, you go and put your money. Premium crying. Please don't invest until you learn. Learn first. Invest in wisdom. Bible says, buy wisdom, sell it not. Invest in understanding these things, and with understanding you are able to make better decisions. Okay, invest in assets that generate wealth. Consider the different kind of asset classes, from real estate to bonds to funds, mutual funds to government securities, and all of that. Diversify your income streams beyond your business as much as possible. Then develop a business succession plan. This one, is going to be another topic because there's no way I can do justice to it on this particular session. You have to train trusted team members to run the operations of your business in your absence. You have to have documented standard operating procedures. Maybe that's the next class we should have. You let me know if that's what you want us to talk about in our next session, and I'll try and do something on that. Or if there's any other topic that you want us to talk about, just send us an email so that we know. Position your business to operate without you. Bottom line, right? Build wealth, proper wealth with proper structuring. Protect your wealth with proper structuring. Register your business under the right legal structure so that you can also minimize tax burdens. This one is another secret I will share during the challenge. Okay? Use different types of structures, which I would share a bit more during the challenge to preserve your wealth. Optimize your cash flow as much as possible. You can leverage debt, but use it very smartly. Automate how you make money within the business, right? Create your financial exit plan. This one, it's also another thing I'm going to stress a lot and I'm going to share in a lot more detail during the challenge. Decide how and when you will transition out of daily operations in your business. Okay, decide when will it be and begin to build the systems around you, around the business. Okay, and then surround yourself with even wealth-minded people. That's the community we're building with this 21-day challenge because you're going to be rolling with people that are on the same journey as you. You're going to be in a community of people that want to achieve similar results, and you're also able to engage and work with people that can help you on that journey. So that's it for today, really. Take a moment and ask yourself, are you working for money or is your business working for you? That's the question I'm going to leave you with today. Are you working for money or is your business working for you? The difference between struggling entrepreneurs and the wealthy ones is how they use their profits. So if you're not making enough profits, that's where you need to start from. So cut the cash leaks in your business, build financial buffers for your business, and then invest wisely. So, as I wrap up, I want you to write one immediate step that you will take today to move your business towards wealth creation. Let's wrap up with that. If you have any questions, quickly drop it. I think I have 1 minute to close this. Let's see how much we can take within the time that we have. Or also just share in the comments. Tell me how you're going to begin to hold yourself accountable and maybe your friends as well. What is the one immediate step that you're going to take today from all that I have shared that will move you forward? Oyema says, when your business is not yet profitable, do you have, okay, it's a question. Do you still advise you pay yourself first from the business, even if you can manage from your personal reserve? If you can manage from your personal reserve, manage from your personal reserve. Get the business from, get the business to a point. Interestingly, what I actually do say is, even if your business is not yet profitable, make it a habit. Pay yourself something. Because, paying yourself something, the way you pay salaries to your employees, whether or not the business is profitable, you factored in that cost into the business. Sometimes we do ourselves a lot of disservice by not paying ourselves at all, telling ourselves, oh, the business is not yet profitable, so yeah. But you forget that your salary is also a cost to the business. Even if you then have to bring the money back as capital, as part of capital to the business, let the business create that system within the business where you pay yourself. The time that you now make money, you will have built that system into the business. Do you understand what I mean? You will have built that system into the business, and then it forces you to get the business to the point where it becomes profitable, because you don't want to stay in that position where you consistently tell yourself, oh, the business is not yet profitable, that's why I'm not paying myself. For how long? Maybe at the initial stage, maybe the first 6 months, you're still trying to get the business. That's if you're just starting. Oh, but the business has been around for at least 1 year. Start paying yourself, no matter how small, even if it is 10,000 naira. You know that 10,000 naira is not what you need for your life expenses. Maybe you have some other sources that you're using to take care of yourself. But let the business recognize that you, as a human being, you as the investor, you're also an employee because you manage and run the business. And so you pay yourself a salary. And then the business begins to adjust to accommodate those costs gradually. And then you can begin to increase it as business becomes more profitable. Profit is a result of revenue minus expenses, and your salary is an expense. So before you talk about profit, you must have removed your expenses at the end of the day. I hope that answers your question. Vivian says, I will focus on my cash flow and weekly monitor profit and expenses. Okay. All right. Thank you very much. This is how far we can go today on this session. Continue to drop your comments, right? I'll come back to read the comments. My team is also here. They will gather the comments, share the questions that you have. We will take it. Maybe your question could actually even become another session. Please, can I have a contact to reach you? Send an email to hello@biolaflow.com. Okay, hello@biolaflow.com. Flow with a W. Hello@biolaflow.com. Just send an email, okay? And my team will respond to you. Thank you, 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 thank you for being here today. It's been amazing. It's been awesome. I enjoy doing this, and that's why I come on here live every Friday, because I know that some of us just need to hear some of these things, and because I want to raise wealthy entrepreneurs this year. And I know you're one of them. So thank you for joining me. God bless you. I'll see you next Friday.